All right, how you doing, everybody? Silver Joker here. Okay, so I did have a little fun with you guys with the thumbnail, little bit clickbait there, but I do have something exciting to share with you guys. They're called Goldbacks. They're all the rage. A buddy of mine who lives in upstate New York sent me a few of them. So today I think it's a good idea to talk about what Goldbacks are. Since they don't make a silverback, I can't really talk about that. You guys know that I am a silver fanatic, so I'm not turning over. I'm not becoming a gold joker. I'm still the silver joker, but I think these Goldbacks are very exciting. They have a lot of potential. So today we're going to talk about exactly what Goldbacks are. We're going to briefly talk about how they're made, and then we're going to take some down to my local coin store. And we're going to talk to Phil, my local coin store owner, and get his take on whether these things are stackable or not. So if you're interested in any of that, stick around. Okay, so what are Goldbacks? Okay, so in this country, our currency used to be made out of precious metals. Our coinage was made out of silver and gold. We even had the paper currency was gold notes and silver certificates. And you could take the gold notes and silver certificates, the paper, down to the treasury and get the silver coins and gold coins for that note, depending on what the denomination was. Now that's the way it was. Well, at some point we moved away from our coinage being made out of precious metals to now it's made out of non-precious metals, and our our paper money became Federal Reserve notes, and they are backed. Well, they were backed by gold. Now they are backed by nothing. Our coinage is basically worthless as far as physical metal, and our paper is less than worthless because it's not even backed by anything anymore. Okay, so states like Nevada, Utah, and New Hampshire developed a alternative to the dollar, and they are called Goldbacks. And they were able to do this. Well, Utah, for example, did this under their legislation under the Utah Legal Tender Act of 2011. And Nevada and New Hampshire have their similar legislation, although I'm not sure what that's called. And what they've done is they have made it legal on a voluntary basis to trade or to use Goldbacks as currency. So if you are a business in one of these states, Nevada, Utah, or New Hampshire, you can legally accept Goldbacks as currency for your goods and services, right? And it's on a voluntary basis. In other words, if somebody comes in with a Goldback and you don't want to accept it as currency, you don't have to. But from what I understand, it is a huge hit in these states. Other states have drafted their own legislation, and they're moving towards their own type of, or their own version of the Goldback. And what makes these things so exciting, the one Goldback contains 1/1000th of an ounce of gold. The 5 Goldback note contains 1/200th of an ounce of gold. The 10 Goldback note contains 1/100th of an ounce of gold. The 25 Goldback note contains 1/40th of an ounce of gold. And the 50 Goldback note contains 1/20th of an ounce of gold. And from what I've seen, the one Goldback sells for between $3 and $5 each. All right, so how are these Goldbacks made? Okay, so listen, I am not an engineer or a scientist. I will read you guys what the literature says on how they're made, and I'll leave a link to the website that I got this information from, and I believe this is one of the creators of one of the state's Goldbacks. I'm not sure which one it is, but it reads here: the creation of the Goldback relies on 5th generation vacuum deposition technology. The designs are printed on a sheet of polymer, basically resin, that is then bombarded with the correct amount of atomized gold particles in a vacuum chamber. This gold is then sealed inside by a second protective barrier of polymer, thus creating a beautiful negative image. All right, now supposedly there is a video online somewhere that shows Goldbacks being made. I looked for it, I could not find it. And so to be able to stack gold at such a affordable price, to me, is amazing. I think that's why they made them with such small amounts of gold, so anybody can stack them, right? So I think they're a good idea. The fact that they are made out of the actual physical bullion and they're not a representation of value is a beautiful thing. Okay, so before I go on, let's go down and talk to Phil, and I'll show you guys, or I'll let you hear what he had to say about Goldbacks.
I think that's the key, is that the acceptance rate. You'll have to find vendors willing to accept that, or sellers of whatever they're selling willing to accept this as payment for what they're giving you in return for these. The problem is setting the price of them. If the price does not if it fluctuates with the gold, I can understand it fluctuating with the gold market as far as, but the daily setting of the price of this has me a little concerned, because you're using it as a currency base more than what its true value is. So, as somebody taking it in as gold, they're going to say there's only so amount of gold in here. Gold today is selling at a certain amount. That may be the limit is what they're willing to accept it for. So I don't know how you could get everybody to be accepting of the set price, maybe on a daily basis, that whoever sets the price, for that current day would be. I mean, if it hinged on the gold market, which really no one has the ability to set the gold price the day before. I mean, you can argue it's manipulated and all this, but essentially everybody wakes up in the morning and looks at gold and see what's gold selling for today, and how it over the course of the day, changes in value. If these were directly related to that, I could see that that's more of a standard in terms of being able to buy and use these as trading tools. If somebody's setting the amount on a daily basis, yes, I would like to know who's setting that, and what, if they have a formula or criteria they're using, as valuing these. It's the only thing right now that I know of is actually backed by gold, outside of just using gold coins. I mean, you could take a 10th ounce gold eagle in and barter with that and say, well, gold's at 2,000 today. Say, would you be willing, as as a buyer and a seller, to agree that this coin that I'm giving you is worth 200, and will you do service to my automobile for $200? And of course, if you find the right mechanic, they probably would say yes. They value that as $200. They know they can go out and get $200 for it. And I think these are going to fall in the same idea. They're just a much smaller unit, which might be more effective in terms of using them on a daily basis versus higher amounts.
Right.
So in the long run, they might become useful. So you have different denominations that would have different amounts of gold in, which would value those a little bit differently. So with the amount of gold in here, I think they're a better bartering tool for the smaller dollar amount purchases than the larger dollar amount. You got to find a vendor that has something you want, or whoever is willing to accept it, that they're willing to accept the set price amount for that day, if that's what the seller and buyer agree on. And they could agree on a different amount also. And bartering is always between basically two people, the seller and the buyer.
Okay, so as a vendor, as a small business owner, so if I brought this in here and I wanted to trade this, let's say I wanted to buy something in your shop with this.
It really is dependent upon how liquid they are in terms of reusing them as pieces that is the assigned amount, or ultimately they're going to always have a value of their gold content. So they're not going to go to zero. If they truly have 1,000th of an ounce of gold in there, let's just use a random number of $2,000, they're worth $2 a piece minimum, because they can be refined or melted, whatever term you want to use, and you can get your $2 back.
Right. That makes
so
perfect
to me
sense.
That's the minimum value of those. Now, if you can use them to go to the local filling station and they're willing to take them as $4 when gold's at $2,000, I might be willing to buy them at $350 or $375, because I know I can reuse them as a profit, or maybe even flip them at the same price if I think I can use them, if I can find another retailer or vendor willing to accept the daily price that's assigned to them. Since 1964, this is the first time I've seen anything that you could actually use that is backed by gold or silver. Once we went off the gold and silver standard, this is the first thing I've seen that is actually truly, they're saying that it has gold content to back a little bit of its value.
When JM Bullion and AppMax and the other vendors, other online bullion dealers are selling these as legitimate bullion, then they've done their research.
Right. These I would be accepting as 1/1000th of an ounce of gold.
Gotcha.
I mean, they say it on there. They have criteria that says they're.
And you can check it. You can research it.
You could, at some point, if I accumulated enough, I could actually send 50 or 100 down to my refinery and by themselves as a simple melt and test the waters and say, do I get the value of gold out of here? The other cardboard gold foil looking pieces that everybody has seen, I don't believe those ever stated that they were any amount of gold in there or anything like that. I don't believe that, if I remember correctly, I never remember one saying that it had a certain amount of gold in it.
Right.
And it was backed by a statement on here, gold.
Yeah,
I have a much better feel for these in terms of having, if you have instrumentation capable of measuring 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold, certainly after you melt it down, you should be able to define that amount of gold in what's left of the melt, and you should be able to get that and recover that. Basically a threshold of what my expectation would be when they were melted. And if I had 1,000 of these, we could send them off to refinery, get the refinery report, they would email it to me, and we could evaluate it and see. We could actually test that and determine if we got close to a full ounce of gold in the refinery process, then we would have to assume that these are exactly what they say they are. And my assumption is right now, without testing them, they appear to be what they are.
I think I'm going to get a fair amount of these in different denominations and just put them in the back of my safe, because my instincts are that these are probably going to increase in value.
And the amount of the bullion, that's the key, I think, to these, is the lower amount of the bullion in here in terms of the actual gold value of these. They're more accessible to a lot more people because they're not $1,800 a piece or $900 a piece. You can buy these and use them as needed because they are affordable, as long as you're getting your money back that you put into them. That would be my one assumption that you would have before you start using them. You don't want to buy them for a certain amount and then use them for a lesser amount. That's you keep in mind too that an ounce of silver has a premium, an ounce of gold has a premium. So you assume that everything you purchase out, in the current market or in the past market, in the future markets, you're going to pay a slight premium outside of what the spot price is usually, and that these would just fall into that same category. You're going to buy these knowing there's a certain amount of gold in them, and you're willing to pay a certain premium to get these.
Right. So they're never going to go to zero. So
no, and you also have the option of holding on to them until gold exceeds the premium that you bought these for, similar that you would, American Eagle or a silver round or a silver eagle. You buy them at a certain amount. You hope that gold goes up and the value exceeds the amount you paid for those. That's the determination of what the premium is on these. If it's too steep, you have a longer waiting period.
Gotcha.
If they're closer to where gold is selling at, then that period becomes much shorter for gold to exceed the value that you have in those, including your premium. And then from there on out, as long as gold stays steady, you've made a wise investment. So it's very similar to buying bullion. It's just in a much, much smaller amount of what we're normally dealing in.
And I think that is a huge plus right there. That what you just said is a huge plus, and that's really what's motivated me to just put some of these away.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm gonna probably try to get 100 of these in different denominations for now, and if they continue to do what they're doing, then I'll start maybe making them a part of my budget to get some, because
and you may carry a premium with your with vendors, coin dealers, bullion dealers. They might if they assign a premium to, say, a gold 24 karat gold buffalo or a 24 karat gold maple leaf, or a a Gold Eagle, there's a certain premium associated with those, what they buy and sell for. If these somehow catch on and the premiums associated with these, then they're really no different, except again for the much smaller denomination of gold you're dealing with. So it becomes much more affordable to a huge number of people.
It's an easier entry point into
Yes.
the precious metals if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So there you have it, people. Not a recommendation by Phil, of course, but he didn't, definitely not a negative either.
No,
So I
no.
guess it's really up to you. It's always going to have that
Yes.
premium, the gold value. It's never going to go to zero
Exactly.
because it is gold. But we'll see where the premiums go in the future.
Yeah, that's what you have to keep an eye on is the premiums. Yep.
That's good. Well, thank you very much,
right,
Phil. That's
sure.
going to clear a lot of stuff up for my viewers, and I'll be back and talk to you some more later.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you. All right, so I'm definitely going to put some of these in my stack. Like I said, I got some from my buddy. He lives in upstate New York. He sells a ton of these, so I bought some from him, and I think I'm going to continue to buy them and just have them in my stack. I don't think I'm going to buy them in bulk like I do physical silver bullion, but I definitely will pick some up here and there. I'll get the different denominations, the 50 Goldback all the way down to the 1 Goldback, and I'm going to just do that on a regular basis. Just buy them whenever, maybe 1 or 2 a week or maybe more, just whenever I think about it, or if I have some extra, if for no other reason than they are gold. They are absolutely gold, and the more of them you accumulate, the more weight of gold you have in your stack. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. And they can be used in commerce. If you were ever in one of those states that make them, and I think other states are going to be making them, so you'll have more states eventually that will accept them. And you can use them in business. You can use them in commerce. There's nothing better than that. And they're not a promise of value. They are the actual value, which is a big plus in my book. And I want to congratulate Mr. Russ Corbett. He won the 30K giveaway here at the Silver Joker channel. I gave one of my beautiful Silver Joker channel art bars that was created by MK Bars. Mike over at MK Bars, they do an awesome job. You guys have seen them. They do beautiful work, and he outdid himself on this bar. Do your stack the way you do your stack. I give you guys information to inform your thinking. Maybe it's something you want to think about putting in your stack. If you have no desire at all in Goldbacks, great. That is your decision. But if you think this is a good idea, I implore you to do your own research. Goldbacks are probably not for everyone. I think they're a great idea, so I'm definitely going to put them in my stack. It's your stack. It's your future. It's your finances. You make sure you're the one making the decisions about them based on your own personal needs and desires for your stack. And so I appreciate you stopping by. Keep stacking. Peace.